Hi, I'm Rachel and welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. In today's Harvest and Cook, I'm going to show you how to take all of those veggie scraps from your garden and use them in a veggie stock. So veggie stocks are so simple to make, and they're a great way to make use of things that come out of your garden that maybe you didn't have enough to make a meal out of. Maybe you've got some small things. Maybe you are like cooking with things like onions and garlic and you have leftover skins, or you're peeling carrots, you have leftover carrot peels. This is just a great way to make use of scraps that come from your food and from your garden to make something nutritious that you can then use in further recipes. So what I do, since I am a single person living alone, I will freeze the scraps that I come up with as I get them. And then once I have enough scraps built up, I'll go ahead and make a stock out of them. So behind me I have my big pot of water. I've got 3 liters of water in here. It's just about half full. You don't have to be exact about this in any way. But basically this is heating up and I'm going to start throwing some of my vegetables in. So coming out of my bag, I have itty bitty carrots that are too small to really do too much with. Itty bitty carrots. Now you'll notice I'm putting some black nebula carrots in. And something to consider when you're making your stock is that darker things like this are going to add color to it. So if you want a clear stock, you don't want to put dark colored things like this in there. Also coming out of my bag, I have onion skins from onions I've peeled. I have parsley that I cut off the plant like a while ago and didn't have any use for. And there's little bits of garlic clippings and garlic skins in here as well. I've got some little cuttings of celery that I'm putting in. So when you're thinking about what you can add to your vegetable stock, there are vegetables that you should add and vegetables that you definitely should not add because they're going to have a weird flavor or they're not really going to impart any flavor to your stock at all. A good rule of thumb is if you think that it would go well in like chicken noodle soup or vegetable soup or something like that, then it's probably good to go in a stock. Things that you wouldn't want to put in here include things in the brassica family like your kale, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, that sort of thing. You also don't want to put potatoes or potato skins because of the starch in them. Other things to consider, so onion skins can go in, but they will turn your stock brown. So again, if you're looking to have like a clear stock, then you want to avoid the onion skins. And especially red onion skins, again, they will turn it purple. So that's something to consider. Beets also will turn your stock purplish pink. So you can go ahead with those. Just know that you'll get pretty color out of it and not a clear stock like you might buy at the store. Right. I've also got some scapes that I pulled off of my garlic a few weeks ago. I've been keeping them in water in the fridge. These I'm just going to chop and throw right on in. Alright, so next I want to add a little extra flavor by adding in some herbs. I've got fresh oregano that I just pulled off my plants. I've got some fresh thyme also, and I pulled some tops of my basil that were starting to flower, and there was not enough to harvest to do anything else with it, so I'm going to put that little bit of basil in. As you saw, there was also some limp parsley that I put in my freezer bag that is going in there. You just want to make sure that, again, that you're adding like more mild things. You don't want to start putting in things like ginger root, turmeric root, because these things are going to start like completely taking over the flavor. You'll also want to think about not adding more of the Mediterranean type vegetables, like peppers aren't going to go very well in here just because they're mostly water themselves. Like, we're basically making vegetable tea here. So because the peppers are mostly water themselves, they're not really going to be able to add much of their flavor back into the water to be extracted out. I'm going to take my herbs, I'm going to roughly chop them again, and then just put them right in. Something else to note is you could definitely put the stalks in. It doesn't matter. You don't have to peel off every single leaf. Here's what we've got so far. Just giving it a good stir. And you can see those carrots are already turning it purple. So one more thing we're gonna add in is a few dry spices. I've got some black peppercorn here that I'm going to add in. You could add red, green, white, or whatever floats your boat. Just want to make sure that the stuff that you're adding in is mild. Again, you don't want anything that's going to overwhelm the flavor, so chili powder is out of the question. I'm just going to take a little handful of black peppercorns, throw those in. I've also got some dried coriander that came off of my cilantro plants once they went to seed. So I'm just going to pop the seeds off of these and throw them in. Since I don't have that many, I'm also going to supplement with a jar from the store. Now normally I would probably also put bay leaves in here, stuff like that, but I'm out of those right now. I used my last two on the jambalaya I made a couple nights ago. So those are the sorts of things that you can add into your veggie stock. I found a website actually that had a really great A to Z list of things you should and should not add to your veggie stock. So I'll link that down below so you can check it out. That way when you're making your own veggie stock and you're looking at your fridge and you're like, oh, I have all of these wilted vegetables, which ones can I use? You'll know. That website, it's a great resource, and that's what I go by when I'm deciding what to put in my veggie stock. Look at this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful veggie stock. Now, something else you can do, if you wanted to make this chicken stock, all you'd have to do is add in like the leftovers from a rotisserie chicken, some bones, cut-offs, that sort of thing, and suddenly you've got yourself a very flavorful chicken stock as well. Alright, so I'm going to get this up to a simmer, and then I'm going to cover it and just let it simmer out for 1 to 2 hours. Doesn't really matter all that much. The longer you let it simmer, the more flavor is going to develop. So it really just depends on you and how strong you want it. So I'll see you in a couple of hours. Alrighty, so it has been 2.5 hours that I've been letting this simmer on the stove, and now it's time to strain all of the vegetables out of our stock. So the first thing I'm going to do is just pull out all the big chunks that I can into the compost bucket. Alright, so now that I've got all of the big chunks out of there, I'm going to strain the rest just like this. Alright, so I've put my strained broth into a reused glass bottle. Still very hot, so I'm going to leave it out at room temperature just to cool down before I put it in the fridge for storage. Now, something like this will last a fair bit of time in the fridge. You can even freeze it if you want to make it last even longer. When it comes to how long it'll last, I would say just use your common sense. I've used stuff like this for like up to a month after making it and storing it in the fridge, so that's a good guideline. But again, just be smart about it. If it smells off, it's probably gone bad. And again, freezing it, a lot of people like to do cubes of this and then like pop a cube in whatever soup they're making or something like that. I haven't personally done it that way. And another option here is if you wanted to, you could keep boiling this and reducing the liquid such that you have a super concentrated broth that you can then dilute with water whenever you decide you want to use it. And that is just that easy. This is a really great way to get a little something extra out of the scraps that come out of your garden that you may feel are only good enough for compost. This is a great way to get a little something extra out of them before they do eventually go into that compost. If you try this out, please let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and that is all I have for you guys today. So until next time, I wish you happy gardening.